That's Mindi Abair, a Grammy-nominated saxophone player and recording artist whom you may have seen performing on American Idol, or with Aerosmith, or alongside Dave Koz and Gerald Albright. We got together at this year's NAMM show for a very interesting conversation about music, wine, and geeky sax stuff. Mindi has a brand new album out called Forever, which you should definitely check out, and there's also a brand new version of her signature mouthpiece made by Theo Wane, the Mindi Abair 2. Here's a clip of me playing one of the catchy hooks from her latest album on it. Mindi is also the author of a great book I've been reading about developing your skills as a performer. It's called How to Play Madison Square Garden, and I can strongly recommend reading it. I got to apologize in advance for all the background noise during our interview. The convention center floor is a very loud environment.
All right, Mindi.
Yes.
Great to meet you. Properly.
Great to meet you. Thank you for doing this. This is so fun.
So I'm like a big fan of everything you do for so many different reasons. So you have like a new album out, a relatively new one. I was checking that out last night. Sounds great.
Thank you.
I love like blues and that sort of music. I grew up listening to that.
Yeah.
And as much as I love blues, the one thing that's always missing for me is there wasn't enough saxophone. There's very little saxophone, you know. It was like great guitar solos and great guitar players. But so what I love is what you're doing is you're like taking a lot of that music and you're just putting in the sax that needed to be there, really.
I love the way you put it. Like the sax should have been there, but you just put it in there and made it all right with the world. So I love that viewpoint. Because look, I love blues music, and I grew up, my father was in a blue-eyed soul band, and they were raised on blues and rock, and then, I was watching people like Bruce Springsteen and Tina Turner and the Rolling Stones. It all came from blues, and so to delve into that music and to get some of that organic real quality in your music. I want that. I love music that moves me. And I want to make music that moves me. And lately that has been a little more organic, a little more acoustic, tube amps and, all of us in the same space at the same time and very emotive music.
Right. Okay, so this last album, was that like all like basically recorded live?
Yeah. We literally recorded Forever as the world shut down. So, second week in March 2020. Where were you? Second week of March 2020, right?
Yeah.
So we were in a recording studio, and we knew that things were happening. We knew there was this pandemic, but didn't really know where it was going to go. So it was me, Abraham Laboriel Jr. on drums. It was Sean Hurley from John Mayer's band. Tim Pierce, who's an incredible guitarist. He does every studio guitar gig known to man. And my keyboard player, Rodney Lee. And we were all in there just making music and writing songs and making it happen. It was this really joyous time of kind of, doing this. And so out of that came these songs, and it was crazy to know that something was going on, but we had no idea the scope of what was about to come for us. So now, 2 years later, releasing this album, it's meaningful in a very different way. I held the record back because I didn't want to release a record when we couldn't be face to face. That's how I do everything. I'm a live animal. We're a live band. My band and I, we live off live. We travel all the time. So it just didn't seem right to put out a record of new music and not have it, be when we could see people. So to have it come out now, some of these songs have incredibly, more intense meanings now.
What's the title of this album?
The title is Forever. And that kind of being a chant. Mindi Abair, forever. I've made a lot of records, and I've really felt like this was a coming back to me and kind of wrapping a lot of things up that I had been in recent years. I've done a lot of records in contemporary jazz and had a lot of success. And then I went to the blues world and did 4 records as Mindi Abair and the Bone Shakers, and we had a lot of success there. And people were asking me, well, are you a blues artist or are you a jazz artist? And, my answer is always, I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I play what moves me, what I write, and let's see what that is. But this particular record felt like a collection of songs that were super meaningful for me, and they were songs that were personal, and they ride the line of kind of Americana meets jazz meets blues, and so it is a coming together of different areas that I've dipped my toe into and lived in, and yeah, Mindi Abair forever. It's all me.
Yeah, I was listening to this album last night, and I love that you do you mix instrumentals with vocals. So it's done in a really nice way. I mean, for a saxophone player, it's great because you're kind of hitting all of the things. Yeah,
I like that you say that. It's funny, you start to record a record and it weaves and kind of moves and becomes its own thing as you're recording. Steve Perry from Journey came in, and we all know Steve Perry's voice, and I mean, I don't know anyone who's not a psycho fan of Steve Perry. I am. He came in just to hang out, not to sing. You can't hire Steve Perry to be on your record. But he started suggesting different vocal parts, and boy, the way his mind works, he sounds like a horn player, he's stacking stuff, and he sounds like that old gospel or blues or soul singer. And wow, so we start stacking vocals, and he starts stacking vocals too, and we're in there, and it gave it this different vibe, so Steve ended up on 5 songs, singing backgrounds with us, and then the horn section and stuff, we did our thing. But I really think it added to that color of, you've got horns, you've got vocals, and it all just becomes this arrangement.
Yeah, and then the way I was listening to it, it feels like the album is telling a nice story, as you go from one to the next, which is, so, it's really like an album, not just a bunch of songs, but it's like a whole thing. And it's interesting because when you record an album like that, you're probably not necessarily thinking of the order of the songs.
Right.
But that's something, and then you have all these things okay, now how do we put it together so and I could tell I like the order as things went through,
I love that you think about these things. You're a mad scientist of, why do these things happen the way they happen? And I totally geek out on all those things.
Yeah.
It's once we get the songs the way that I hear them and the way that they come out as other people hear them and give their 2 cents, and we sit in the studio and make it happen. Once you have that, how do you create the story? And the songs were already chosen. I always write probably 40 or 50 songs for an album, and then
weed out
push the other ones away, and then you've got these songs that I think tell a story that's linear, that makes sense together. And then, well, how does it flow? And so there's the next week of my life, is listening to it,
Right, and trying out different orders and listening to them, yeah.
But that's so old school. I mean, now people just put out a single, and there you go, there's your radio single. And so I understand this is not the, normal way that you're supposed to do it now.
I still want to listen to an album from beginning to end, and I want to tell a story an album should, a good album should. So that's what I'm looking for that, and I think a lot of people still do that.
I hope so. I'd like to believe that.
Yeah. So check out the album, Mindi Abair Forever. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, which I find incredibly interesting, is the wine tours, and that I was checking that out. This just seems like just this genius idea, and it must be so much fun.
You know what? This has added such a cool layer to my life. And I gotta say, it all happened because, my husband has been in the wine business his whole career. He's been an executive. He runs wineries. And I was hooked up on a blind date with him by Dave Koz, another fellow awesome saxophonist. And he sat at dinner with me one night and he goes, I have a guy that I think you may like. And so, boy, it clicked and we were inseparable, and that was almost 10 years ago. So about 3 years ago, we got married, and Dave Koz married us. He actually did the officiating on our back porch where I did all these Facebook Live
I think I saw
shows.
some clips of that. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, it was really perfect. So around the time we got married, we sat down with a bottle of wine. That's his business, and magic markers and a whiteboard, and we had dream jobs. I mean, I get to write music, I get to tour with my band, and he gets to go run these beautiful wineries in Napa and St. Helena, and it was pretty perfect. But we just thought, what if we, went into blue sky thinking, what would be even better? So we decided we loved to travel. We wanted to be together more. We always have fun at home. He opens up a bottle of wine and I'm, DJing. I'm like, wait, you've got a Pinot Noir that's a little earthy, but yet it's elegant. We're listening to soul music tonight. I'm getting out some Ray Charles and some Booker T. Jones and, a little Aretha Franklin. Let's get crazy. So that's how we interact. I think of everything in music
Pairing
terms.
wine with music rather than wine with food.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to eat too, don't get me wrong. But we wanted to share that. We thought if we loved to do that it would, be really awesome to have our friends be a part of that. So he quit his job as an executive. We started our own company called wineandjazz.com. And he has winemakers make us wine. So you can only get it from us. And every brand, I either do the artwork or I have my friends who are, rock and roll painters or artists or whatever. So many people create art. So it's all music-centric on the bottles. All our brands are music-centric. And then I curate a music playlist for each one. So you go on Spotify for our Viva La Jazz Chardonnay, and it's, all these incredible jazz artists. And, then you go for our Blanc de Blanc sparkling wine, and it's all celebratory. Everyone from Prince to, Kool and the Gang and stuff like that. So every wine has its style and its music. And so it's really fun. We have wine club members for Wine and Jazz all over the country now, and we take people on these adventures all around the world. Super small groups, like 40 people, will take to, this year we're going to Spain, to Rioja and San Sebastian.
Oh.
And it's just every day of wine and incredible food and a concert every day. I always have a musical guest. Richard Elliott was my guest in Sonoma last month, and Rick Braun was my guest last year. And then I had Jim Peterick, who wrote Eye of the Tiger. He wrote Vehicle for Ides of March. I mean, we had a full-on rock concert in a 12th century palace in Tuscany with our group, just for our group.
Amazing.
So literally we whiteboarded our lives and just said, if we could do anything, we'd drink wine and make music and travel the world with our friends. And that's what I'm doing.
Incredible. So that just sounds like so much fun, these wine excursions, these wine adventures. And then also, I wasn't aware that, so you're doing like playlists to go along with your exclusive wine collection. Well, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's fun because, look, you and I think of things musically, right? You taste a bottle of wine or you go to, an art festival or something like that. It evokes music, doesn't it? So why not, see what this wine kind of instigates in your mind? What music pairs with this? Because they do have similarities.
Absolutely. No, but that's the thing. And that's something that, we need more of in the world, like the proper music for the proper situation, for the dinner, for whatever, the right ambiance. And I feel like, I don't know, what do you feel? I feel like we're spoiled for choice now, because we have it's almost like when you have too much available to you, you become numb to it. And I don't know, I feel like in the old days we paid more attention to these things. I mean, you're obviously doing it, but in general, I feel like that's something that is not, it's not done as much as it used to be done.
I think that's an interesting perception, and I think you're totally right. I think that we have so much coming at us every moment that it's hard to really sink into anything and kind of be there and be present and, oh, wait, we're here. I should enjoy this. I should actually delve into this and like be in it for a while. We're all just kind of, hey, squirrel.
Well, no, because you go to take your phone out to put some music on, like, oh, but I got all these notifications, and you forget that you took the phone out to do it in the first place.
Yeah, you're like, this is what's happening in the news, and so-and-so's on Instagram playing with their cat.
And we never had that before. You would go to the stereo and you choose your record or your CD and you put it on, and you could stay focused on that task.
Well, that's why it's nice. I got older and wiser. I married a wine guy. He'll bring out a bottle of wine, and that's like, okay, let's sit, let's enjoy, let's delve in, let's listen to some music and just be. And that's been a gift. I think it's nice to be able to relax and focus, and it's made my life better because, you can run around and just keep yourself so busy with whatever it is. I like the life that I'm living right now.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's, for me, that's one of the reasons I moved to the south of France. Wow, it's like the main reason, just for lifestyle. Things that it's more challenging in this country to be able to do that. You have to work hard.
Yeah. No, it seems nice. I'm going to visit you.
Yes, you are very welcome.
We'll drink wine.
Yes.
We'll eat baguettes and cheese.
Music. And So you've got you have a new mouthpiece design from Theo. Let's talk about that.
Let's. Theo Wani, I mean, I can't say enough about him. He's a mad scientist and a really beautiful person. And the two don't always go together. And I remember my grandmother told me early on, work with people you love, create things with people you love, buy things from people you love or respect, And I always thought, okay, don't you just, go somewhere and buy something? She really was very protective about who she let into her life. And boy, to start this mouthpiece journey with Theo Wani, it was years ago. He was just in it for all the right reasons. We wanted to make a mouthpiece for the people, and by that I mean we wanted to make this mouthpiece that made it easier to play, easier to have this resonance and this power that you didn't have to just, work and slave for it, but that it wouldn't be at a price point that, we as professionals were used to paying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for mouthpieces. But if you're a student or you're someone, that doesn't have that kind of money, they should get that mouthpiece too, So we worked on the first version of my mouthpiece for 2 years. He came out on the road. I was out with Aerosmith for a summer. He came out and we'd be in the arena in some weird little room. I'd be playing, no, the bottom end isn't big enough, and I'd be like, no, the high end, I just lost control of the high end. Like, I can't pinpoint it anymore. And he'd be in there. We did this for 2 years. And finally, my horn was stolen, which was just an awful thing to happen. And I called Theo and went, our mouthpiece for the people, the universe says it's time.
Oh, okay. But the mouthpiece wasn't in the case. You didn't lose.
No, I was playing another mouthpiece. Like, we hadn't finished this, beautiful perfect mouthpiece that we were working on, so we finished it. And I played it for a year before we put it out in the market, and it did really well. It was super cool to watch people play it. You know, they'd put it on their horn and try it out, and they would be like, woo, oh, it's like that, oh, you know.
That was my reaction. I played it.
Yeah.
That was my reaction. It's great. It's a great mouthpiece.
Thank you. And so this version 2, Theo and I have talked since, you know, my first version, and there were things that he said to me. He's like, I wanted to make this happen. You wanted to make this happen, but I didn't have the technology yet. Now I do. Try this. And so I tried a couple different models that he was working on, and we went back and forth on those. And sure enough, it opened up further. I mean, just this, you know, really effortless tone, really even across every part of the horn, off the horn, you know. It was just, it had this brilliance of tone and still didn't lose the nuance. So that's how the version 2 has come about. And I've now played it almost a year.
Okay.
And so, of course, now it's coming out. So that's our usual. Like, I kind of road test it. So
Yeah. Okay, that's super exciting.
I know, I'm super psyched. And today is the day that it comes out to the world.
Yeah,
so.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to try the new version as well.
Yeah, try the new version because it is markedly better.
Okay.
I didn't think he could do it. I was like, look, I know, but we got it to a point, you can't make it better.
Right.
It rocks. This mouthpiece, I will stand behind. And then, you know, I put the one on and I was like, oh, you did it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's fun to try to outdo yourself and make this mouthpiece that hopefully people will love as much as I do. I like that we can do dorky sax stuff. This is good.
Well, you gotta have dorky sax stuff. When I was listening to you play, I love that it's so tasteful, and I don't mean that in it's rock and roll,
right?
But it's tasteful in a way that a lot of saxophone players are not able to play what the music calls for always, because they can do more.
Right.
And
it's a blessing and a curse to be able to do more.
Right. So sometimes you have to, and I really love players that have that discipline to like be, okay, now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And you know, because that sounds great. And then sometimes you're doing something else, but you know, so I notice that as well when I'm listening to like his latest album. Like, wow, it's really just so in the style and just being so tasteful, but in a rock and roll way.
No, thank you for saying that, because look, the players that I love the most are feel players. You know, I never aspired to be the player that was the fastest or the loudest or the, you know, the most going on like that. I love players who move you.
Yeah.
You know, I love those Miles Davis records that he plays one note and you're just like, and you're hanging on every breath he takes because he's not doing acrobatics. He's playing a melody.
Yeah.
Wayne Shorter was the same way. He wasn't playing licks and he wasn't trying to do acrobatics and, hey, wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
He was playing a melody, and that speaks to me. And I grew up loving rock and pop and blues and soul. Those are melody-based, you know, genres of music. I want to play the melody.
Yeah.
And even when, you know, I got into jazz, which was in college, I was always the one who I liked John Coltrane's My Favorite Things record better than some of the more outside stuff that came later, you know? And people were like, oh, don't say that, you know, that's heresy. But we all like what we like.
Yeah.
And so for me to play a melody and make it simple and emote, that's more of who I am than, you know.
Well, you're also someone who does a lot of performing.
Yes.
And I think, and performing for large audiences, and that's something that as musicians, you know, some musicians don't necessarily get that opportunity, so they don't understand what it is to play to the listeners so much. and how important that is, and how much feedback, positive feedback
Yeah.
you get when you have your audience in mind, and and then you're really sharing a moment. So that's just one of those things in music that
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
It's such an important concept, and I love that you see that, because a lot of people don't even think about that
Right.
aspect. I went to Berklee College of Music. I got my degree. It's the best contemporary music school in the world. They didn't teach me, kind of how to be on stage or how to perform. And I get it. They taught me everything else, But at a certain point, all of us that graduated together, we make a living playing music live. That's how most of us make our living. So why not try and teach those concepts? And I eventually wrote a book called How to Play Madison Square Garden. And it's not a music business book. It's not a, how to play your instrument or how to navigate the music business. It's how to figure out how to build who you are on stage. And I think that's something that most people just don't even think about. That they're all into their instrument and their music, but how would that, how do you convey that to an audience and make them want to buy a ticket for your next show?
Yeah.
And that's, why would someone buy a ticket to my show as opposed to your show? I think a lot of times it's what we give to our audience and what we take from them, how we interact and how we connect and hopefully form bonds
and
through
make an
that.
experience that everyone is sharing in that experience.
Yeah.
In that live moment. Yeah.
But it is, a different thing to open yourself up and just be, this is me. And I want to get to know you guys, and I want you to get to know me, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to put yourself up there, and it's a pretty naked feeling to show who you are.
Yeah.
And to connect with your audience. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think we all could benefit from thinking in those terms, like, how will I connect today?
Absolutely.
It is a conversation we have with each other as audience and player.
Yeah.
You got like music going on over here. If you could be here, I mean, this is pandemonium around us, and yet we're sitting here just having
What we need to be, with a nice glass of wine,
Okay, next time we're doing wine with this, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, not at the NAMM show. There has to be another ambiance.
We can sneak in here, right?
Well, there's a bar over there.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think we want the wine that they're going to serve with the hot dog. No. Come over to my fire pit, my back porch.
Yes.
We'll do you right.
That sounds awesome. Okay, Mindi, thank you so much. This has been a great pleasure.
Thank you for talking about dorky sax stuff, but also delving into life. This has been a really, really fun time with you. So
Okay,
let's
great.
do this again.
Yeah, let's do it again, but not with all these people around.
No, it's a bit much. Wow.